It is Saturday morning. You have been working all week. You need cash. You walk to your bank, and you're 1 minute late. 1 single minute. The doors are locked. The lights are off. Sign on the door says, bank hours, Monday to Friday, closed weekends. You stand there, furious now. Most people would just go home, come back Monday, forget about it. But one man, one very angry Scottish man, went home that evening, got into his bathtub, and quietly invented a machine that today processes $18 trillion every single year. All of it. Because a bank closed 1 minute too early. This is the true story of the ATM, and I promise you, it is stranger than anything you have seen in a movie. The year is 1965. The place is London, England. The man is John Shepherd-Barron. Now before I tell you what he did, let me tell you who he was. This is not just any man. John Shepherd-Barron was born in India in 1925 to a remarkable British family. His father was a chief engineer who ran major ports across the British Empire. His mother was an Olympic tennis player and a Wimbledon doubles champion. John himself served as a paratrooper in World War II. He jumped out of planes behind enemy lines. After the war, he went to Cambridge University, dropped out, and eventually joined a company called De La Rue. Now here's the interesting part. De La Rue was not a bank. It was a company that printed money. Banknotes, currency, the actual paper in your wallet. John had spent years printing money and moved to running armored trucks that carried money across Britain. So this man understood money better than almost anyone alive. He knew how it was made. He knew how it moved. He knew how people used it. And on one very ordinary Saturday in 1965, he discovered the one thing about money that nobody had fixed yet. Getting it. John arrived at his bank 1 minute after closing time. The doors were locked. He could not get his own money. Not a criminal's money. Not someone else's money. His own money. Locked inside a building he could not enter. He went home, had dinner, got into his bath, and lying there in the hot water, a question appeared in his mind. Why can I get a chocolate bar from a vending machine at midnight, but I cannot get my own money from a bank on a Saturday? That question, asked by a frustrated man lying in a bathtub in 1965, changed how every human being on earth accesses their money forever. Here is what made John different from every other frustrated bank customer. He didn't just complain. He thought like an engineer. The image that kept coming to his mind was simple. A chocolate vending machine. You put something in, you get something out. No human needed it. No opening hours, no Saturday closing time. John thought, what if we did the same thing with cash? Now this sounds simple, but in 1965, this was not simple at all. Think about what a vending machine needs. It needs to know who you are. It needs to know how much money you have. It needs to verify you are not stealing. It needs to give you the right amount, securely, without any human involved. In 1965, there were no computer chips small enough for this. No magnetic bank cards, no internet, no digital accounts. Everything was paper. Everything was manual. Everything went through a human teller inside a building. But John Shepherd-Barron was not thinking about what existed. He was thinking about what should exist. He came up with a system. Instead of a plastic card, customers would use a special paper check, but not an ordinary check. This check would be impregnated, soaked with a very small amount of a radioactive substance called carbon-14. The machine would detect the radioactive signal, match it against a PIN number the customer entered, and if everything matched, release the cash. Now here is a detail that will make you laugh. John needed to decide how many digits the PIN should be. He thought about his own Army service number. 6 digits. He thought that was perfect, so he tested it. On his wife Caroline, gave her a 6-digit number and asked her to memorize it. She couldn't. He tried again. She still struggled, kept reducing the number. 4 digits. She got it right every time. And that is why, to this very day, every ATM pin in the entire world is for digits. Not because of computer study, not because of a global banking conference. It's because John Shepherd-Barron's wife could not remember 6 numbers.
Your pin.
My pin. 1 billion people's pins. 4 digits. Because of one woman in 1965. History works in the most unexpected ways. Now John had an idea. But an idea in a bathtub means nothing without someone willing to build it. John needed a bank. And as luck would have it, luck showed up. Later in 1965, John was at a social event in London. Across the room, he spotted a man he recognized. He was the chief general manager of Barclays Bank, one of the most powerful bankers in Britain. John walked over and introduced himself, and right there at a social gathering, he pitched his idea. He said, and these are almost his exact words, "I have an idea. If you put a special check through a slot in the side of the bank, it will deliver standard amounts of cash." Around the clock, the banker looked at him. There was a pause. Then he said 7 words that launched a global industry. "Come and see me on Monday morning." That was it. No long presentation. No business plan. No PowerPoint slides. One conversation. At a party between 2 men, Monday morning came. John walked into Barclays headquarters. He explained the full system, the special checks, the radioactive compound, the PIN system, the machine design. Barclays said yes on the spot. They commissioned John to build 6 machines, not 1 test machine. 6. They believed in the idea completely. John and his team went to work. They had to solve problems that had never been solved before. How do you make a machine that handles cash without jamming? How do you make it weatherproof so it works outside a bank 24 hours a day? How do you make it secure enough that criminals cannot break into it? Every single problem, they solved it from scratch. No Google, no Stack Overflow, no previous ATM manual to read. Pure engineering, pure thinking, pure problem solving. It took less than 2 years. June 27th, 1967, a small crowd has gathered outside the Barclays Bank branch in Enfield, a suburb of North London. Television cameras are there, journalists are there, bank executives are there. They are about to witness something that has never happened before in the history of money. A machine, attached to the outside wall of a bank, is about to give someone cash, with no teller, no signature. No human beings were involved. The man chosen to make this first ever withdrawal was a British comedian and actor named Reg Varney. He stepped up to the machine, inserted his special carbon-14 check, entered his 4-digit PIN, and the machine clicked, word, and delivered £10 in cash. The crowd applauded. John Shepherd-Barron stood there watching. The machine he had conceived in his bathtub 2 years earlier had just dispensed money to a human being for the first time in history. Now let me put that £10 into perspective. In 1967, £10 was roughly a full day's wages for many British workers. But more importantly, that machine could only give out £10 at a time. That was it. One standard amount, no choice, and yet people lined up to use it. Because the point was never the amount. The point was freedom. For the first time in human history, you could get your money on a Saturday. You could get your money at midnight. You could get your money on Christmas Day. No bank, no teller, no opening hours, just you, machine, and your 4-digit PIN. Now here's the part of the story that will frustrate you. After the first ATM launched, the idea spread fast. Very fast. Within 1 week of John's machine going live at Barclays Enfield, a competitor called Chubb installed their own machine at a different bank. Other companies started developing their own versions. The idea was out in the world. And John Shepherd-Barron never patented it, not because he forgot, not because he didn't know what a patent was. He made a deliberate choice. John consulted with Barclays lawyers. Their advice was clear. If you patent the ATM, you have to publicly disclose exactly how the coding system works. And if criminals could read how the coding system worked, they could crack it. John chose security over profit. He kept the technology as a trade secret instead, which meant every bank in the world was free to build their own ATM. Every competitor could copy the idea. And John Shepherd-Barron, the man who invented the ATM, never collected a single penny in patent royalties. Today, there are over 3 million ATMs installed worldwide. They process roughly $18 trillion in transactions every year. And the man who started all of it received no financial reward beyond his regular salary. He did eventually receive an OBE, an Order of the British Empire, in 2005, 40 years after his bathtub idea, for services to banking. He died in 2010 at the age of 84, quietly, in a remote farmhouse in northern Scotland, far from the 3 million machines he had set loose upon the world. Here is what your school never told you about the ATM. The radioactive checks that John's first machine used, John was asked if they were dangerous. His answer was brilliant. He calculated that you would need to eat 136,000 of those checks for the radiation to cause any harm. Said it was perfectly safe. Nobody argued with that. The first ATM also had one other difference from the machines you use today. It did not charge a fee. John believed that charging people to access their own money was wrong. Today, the global ATM industry generates over $22 billion per year in fees alone. Fees that John never wanted. On money that John's machine made possible. And there is one more thing. In 2007, 3 years before he died, John gave an interview to the BBC. He was 82 years old, and he made a prediction. Said, "We will soon be swiping our mobile phones at till points, even for small transactions." In 2007, smartphones barely existed. But today, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Tap to Pay, John saw it coming. The man who invented the ATM in a bathtub in 1965 also predicted mobile payments 40 years before they became normal. Some people just see further than the rest of us. Let me ask you something. Many times have you been frustrated by something and just walked away? How many times have you thought someone should fix this and left it for someone else? John Shepherd-Barron arrived at a locked bank 1 minute late. He had every reason to just go home and come back Monday. But he didn't just go home. He went home and thought. And in his bathtub that evening, he asked the question that changed everything. Why do I have to accept this? Not with anger, not with a complaint, with curiosity, the engineering, with determination. The result, 3 million machines, $18 trillion a year, and a 4-digit PIN that you have used your entire life, because one man's wife couldn't remember 6 numbers. That is the real story of money. It's not the numbers on a balance sheet, the people, the frustrations, the bathtub ideas, the moments of pure human annoyance that accidentally built the world you live in today. There are hundreds more stories like this one, and I will be here every week to tell them. We'll see you in the next one. Every week on this channel, the true financial history behind the world's biggest inventions, empires, and accidents. Subscribe so you never miss one.